right. Okay, so let me just officially introduce, as people are coming on, let me officially introduce our guest, Harrison Klein. I don't remember how I first found out about Harrison, but it was back in, I think, 2010, and we did several interviews together. I think the last one might have been in 2013 or 14, but since then, I've gotten to know Harrison personally, and we recently had dinner together with him and his lovely wife in Boca. And so it's just really special to connect again. It's been about 10 years since we did an interview, but Harrison is a master of many things, including mindset, law of attraction, wealth, the esoteric, accessing the esoteric realms, just so much. He's connected in all kinds of ways. And one of the things that's the most special about Harrison, in my mind, and probably in everybody's, is that he just is in love with life. Like, I didn't used to believe it. When I first met you, Harrison, I did not believe you. I thought, of course he's saying that, he's got something to promote. And as I've seen him over the years in various situations, I've never seen him not be in love with life and not be rolling with things. And that is something that's so extraordinary. And I think probably the biggest key to miracles. And now let me just do the official bio, because people might not know you. Harrison Klein is an international speaker and writer specializing in transformations and awakening processes. As owner of the Masters Gathering, Women, Power, and Purpose, True Millionaire Stories, 100, MX3, and Pro Abundance LLC, he develops information and popular products around the leading edge of spiritual, metaphysical, and coaching industry, as well as speaks at and produces events for the personal growth, wealth, and development companies and the community. And before we go further, welcome and thank you so much, Harrison. It's so fun to have you on again after all this time. And apparently we just got something that you're offering, which is linked up. I'll actually share the link in the chat. It's linked up on the speaker page as usual, but it's wealthymofos.com. If you want to talk about that, what is that?
Well, where do we start? Should we talk about my being in love with life, my connecting with you, or should we talk about wealthymofos.com, or where do you want to start?
Yeah, you know what? I want to start with, what do you think life is? And what do you think life is right now?
What do I think life is, and what do I think what else is?
What do you think it is now? Like, I don't mean what it is, it's the heartbeats. I mean, what do you think is like the essence of being alive?
Wow.
A human being in a body.
You don't want to get into too deep a subject, huh?
No, I never like to go deep. It's not my I like to just float on the surface.
Well, I think we're here for two purposes, basically. Human beings are here for two purposes, or maybe even three, but we all come for the same universal three purposes. And the first is joy. The second one is expansion of the universe, which means the creative parts of us are unleashed into bigger and better and more significant connection with things. The third is that we communicate ourselves with each other, serve each other, and also serve God. So life is a exercise in those three things, basically. And the incidentals are wealth, the incidentals are fulfillment, the incidentals are fun, the incidentals are just, kind of um, giving exquisite experiences to ourselves through commitment, through clarity, through competence, through common sense, a number of different things, consideration, courage, all that kind of stuff. So life is a matter of those basic principles, and the highest of which within us is love, and love is God, and the rules of the Torah, and the things that make a difference in everybody's life, not just our own. So we're here to serve each other. So we're here for joy, expansion, and to serve each other. And we are just one being. God is experiencing himself through us. And that's the beauty of my reflection on life, basically. I've been through the mystical, I've been through the practical, I've been through I feel like I'm doing a song here.
Right, get out your guitar. Let's do it as a song. By the way, somebody said your voice sounds soft. It doesn't sound soft to me, but if there's any way to go a little closer to the mic or whatever, that would be awesome, because we don't want to miss you. Harrison plays the guitar also.
Is this any better?
Yes, it's great. So joy, expansion of the self and the universe, and I forgot exactly what I'm going to listen to
Serve each other.
to serve each other. Yeah, wow, so powerful. You didn't always feel this way. If you want to give a quick, because people don't, again, they're just meeting. If you want to just do a real quick recap of how you shifted into this state of mind, then we can take it from there. So I have more questions.
Okay. Well, historically, I am the son of Holocaust survivors, and I was born and raised and programmed into experiencing life as suffering,
Mm,
as pain, as difficulty. And I never wanted to accept that assessment of life. And so, I did have to deal with it for about 23 years of my life. And until at one point I had a breakthrough, I had a magical, mystical mystery tour breakthrough, like the Beatles, basically. And that one mystical experience changed my whole life. I entered a realm of the here and now, which was different than everything I had experienced prior to that. And I became aware in so many different ways. I was able to expand and increase my vision. I was able to see the pulsations of things. I was able to see energy. I was able to hear things that I couldn't hear across a table
oh,
20 yards away, clearly. I was able to experience my body in a way that was so extraordinary that I could actually feel the formation of thought creep up my spine into my amygdala, across my corpus callosum, and explode into my executive center. And it was like a download of about 1,000% of my energy. My IQ increased by at least 20 to 40 points. My ability to articulate and create order in my life was, enhanced at least, I can't even tell you, multiple times, basically. So my mind became ordered in a way that it wasn't before. It was chaos before. And the best analogy I can give you of that was that if you are standing on a platform and the Japanese bullet train goes by at 200 miles an hour, and you try to grab a hold of the side rail and hold on for dear life, that's what it felt like for about 2 years.
2 years. Wow.
2 years was when it took 2 years for me to understand what had happened. So, I mean, I researched a lot because it was so incredible that I had no idea. I kept walking around going, what is this? What is this that I'm feeling? What is this experience, this increase in awareness? What is this?
23.
Yeah. So, I was an incredible I was in an incredible state of mind that just turned everything into joy. Turned everything into a place of reality. The here and now is joy and reality. I mean, it never, it's not a problem. There's never a how. There's only a what, and it's just one long moment of now. And the one long moment of now, if you are alert, is, the experience of life, and that is the mystical generation of energy and the experience of everything as us, as self, and as God. I don't want to get too deep.
Yeah, well, I want you to, but I don't, but I have very mixed feelings because we could go down any of these pathways and for many, many, many hours. I'm sure you've taught many courses on these things. But and I'm not trying to drag you all over the place either, but I just want to I want to get the maximum for myself and for everybody of your worldview and your, what you know about how to choose dreams rather than fears, how to live this joyful, expansive, abundant life of service and mystical presence and all. It's going to be an overview because it's so vast, and I really hope that we can go deeper in another occasion pretty soon. But I want to ask you about what precipitated the experience that you just described. Did something happen? Was it an illness? Was it an NDE? Was it drugs? You were walking around one day and all of a sudden you had this giant
Well,
mystical change?
I've had many mystical experiences since then, but the primary one that made the change was in which I had been struggling with life so dramatically for so many years, and I tried to control my life. I tried to control what was going on. I tried to control, who I was, how other people saw me, where the way that the world perceived me and the way that I perceived the world. And
Human,
there
in
was a
other words.
point, yeah. And there was a point where, the pain was so great that I just reached threshold and I just said, no more, I can't do this anymore. And a moment occurred in which I said, what if all this pain is some sort of a prelude to love? And in that very next instance, I had my mystical experience. So I don't know if that triggered anything. It was just the surrender into the now, because all these years that I was in that darkness, going through the dark night of the soul, basically I was trying to find out why I was behind in my perception of the way things were. I could talk to you and I would be behind at least a quarter of a second to what you said. I was not in that moment. I talk to anybody and I could see anything and I wasn't in the here and now. I was just off
Wow.
center all the time. And, I had no idea. I was just trying to fill in space between that being off and trying to find out what I was in that circumstance. So I found out all the things I wasn't so I could find out what I was, which was just pure energy and love. So pure awareness. And there's just energy and love and awareness. They're all the same thing. They're all just a equal sign between all of them.
Energy, love, and awareness.
And God.
I mean, we could probably just keep going and you would tell me that everything is the same thing, right?
Everything is made of the same thing. Everything is the same thing. It's all energy, just different frequencies and all that. And I'm sure everybody understands at this point that are students of yours understands how that works. So yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
we we open ourselves to the new energies that we experience. So that comes as part of God's communication to us and God's communication to the world.
You said
Why?
when we dream? Did you just
Yeah,
say when we dream?
yeah, that's a communication from God to us. And when my worldview is that everything is exactly as it should be, there is no deviation, no matter what we consider good or bad. There are none of that there's none of that in the universe. There is only this energy that is orchestrated by the experience of expansion. And everything that is negative is really just a prelude to something that is more positive on the other end, because it teaches us something for the positive growth. And my perspective on the world is that because everything is exactly as it should be, we are perfect in our being who we are. We're not perfect in every way, but we're perfect I'm a perfect Harrison Klein. I don't know if I'm a perfect human being, but I'm a perfect Harrison Klein. And in that perfection, basically, I don't have any fears and I don't have any regrets and I don't have any negatives any longer in my life. Or every once in a while, I may make a judgment, but the
Oh, I'm
end
so
of
glad to hear that. I honestly, I'm relieved to hear that.
the end of judgment is the beginning of love. And so, but those are all residuals from my past that come up, but I do my best to release them. So, it's all part of the process.
So no
And
fear. You don't consider death to be real, right?
no, I don't consider death to be real. It's only a doorway that we walk through. We release this body, but our consciousness lives on. And in the Jewish religion, there's no, there is reincarnation.
Of course, but you lose the story in a sense. Like if you're building something in your life, you have a sphere of influence, you have contacts, you have your, Marbeth, your beautiful wife, your family, whatever. And in the new story, you don't have that. I'm wondering what you think of that.
When we go through the birth canal, we go through an amnesia experience, because the purpose of becoming a incarnation is the fact that you know we narrow our focus into an ability to create contrast that expands. So when we are able to understand contrast, that is the expansion. If we see the dark and the light simultaneously, or if we see the dark and the light, that's a way that we expand. If we see only, but we can't, when we're only positive, which is the energy of beyond the body, when we're only in a positive space, the energy beyond the body is simply all beautiful, wonderful, terrific. We call that heaven or whatever you want to call it, but it's only a positive state of gigantic amounts of energy with multiple awarenesses simultaneously. When we come through the birth canal, we narrow our focus down into a singularity of focus.
Right, right.
So that singularity opens us to see the positive and the negative, the dark and the light, the left and the right, the up and the down, the back and the forth, et cetera, et cetera. And we have to do that in order to expand that beingness that we are. We have to be able to see what we don't want in order to get what we do want.
You're creating more contrast through each incarnation, through each individual experience, and whatever it would be that would focus and contrast and contract. There's you have some that you have and you don't have. You
Yeah.
are, you are not.
You don't really lose all your past lives. You just don't have instant access to it in the way you have in this life. You have access to them if you want. And the beautiful thing is you also have access to your future lives. Because there is no past or future. It's only the now, basically, and everything happens simultaneously. Here's a big thing that I've been teaching lately. Many people ask me, how do I get from here to there? I'm here, I'm making $20,000, or here I'm having a bad relationship. How do I? There
Right.
is no there is no how, because if everything is one and it's in the middle, to try to get someplace is really a sign of separation, and you are not separate.
You're stuck
So
in the world of cause and effect.
yes, so
Well, so what is
yeah,
there instead of a, so what do you answer them? You say there is no how, and then you say what?
there's only the what. There's only the what or the why. And if you're in the what and the why, that's when it happens. If you are in the how, or you're trying to perpetrate the how, basically you don't get there. Or at least you struggle to get there.
Journey.
You struggle to get there, and with a lot of effort and a lot of pain.
So this is really what you're talking about. The first couple times I interviewed you, I really didn't even understand what you were saying. I mean, that was back 12, 13 years ago. But and then at one point, I think maybe the last time we did an interview together, I suddenly like, oh, wow, Harrison's saying that everything is in what you connect to with the mind, that you don't have to worry about the, like, it was like a revelation to me. I think about it a lot. Now people are talking, now people, everything is moving forward. The expansion is definitely happening, and it's happening faster and faster. So people, now there's a name for this, like there are probably a bunch of names, like, oh, this is the 5D reality that you're talking about. Is this the 5D reality you're talking about, where it's everything
There's
is
more than 5D. That's only one step on the line. There are many, many multiple realms that we go through. 5D, if you go through the dimensions, you can kind of um, analogize it through a math analogy. So dimension one is what? What is that in math? It's a point, right? A point.
Yeah,
It's me, 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 me. My wants, my needs,
yeah.
my experiences. It's all about me. That's when we come through the first dimension as a child. Second dimension is what? It is.
Share your toys.
Yeah, the second dimension is a bunch of points, which is what's on the left side of me, what's on the, it's a line. What's on the
Mhm.
left side of me, what's on the right side of me, who's my friend, who's my enemy, who's my family, who's not my family,
Um,
who agrees with me, who doesn't agree with me. That's the second dimension of evolution. Third dimension is the one we live in this physical world, and that's the world of form, and that is, height, depth, and width, right? So that means that you can see a little bit into the future, you can see a little bit into the past, you have some depth of what you've experienced, and you have some width as to who has been your friend and who's been your enemy, and the things you've experienced and things you've not experienced. The fourth dimension is the gateway to heaven, which is time. Basically, you either are in time or you release time. So one or the other, that is the gateway. It is simply the transition place. When you master time, you go beyond time and space. So when you master time, the most successful people in the world create their time in very small increments. You know, you go to the president of the United States, he's got 3 minutes, state your case, get the hell out. He's got other things to do. The homeless guy can't fill up his day no matter what he does. He can't do anything with purpose because he can't find the time, he can't understand it. Fifth dimension that we're talking about now, that we're talking about, that we're transitioning into, is the dimension of light. What does light do? Light splits darkness. That means it's able to, whatever it shines on, it illuminates. So that is the fifth dimension, you know, the 5D that everybody talks about. So that is the dimension in which you see things that were always hidden before. That's what's coming up. Sixth dimension is creativity. Now you take what you've learned in the light and now you apply it to something that is uniquely yours. You are a signature human being.
Mm.
Everything you do is signature. So the way you wash a dish, the way you cut the grass, the way you articulate a sentence, the way you, walk, and the way it's totally signature, and you're aware of not only your signature but all signatures, and you see the signature part of each human being. The seventh dimension is influence. Now you take what you've created and now that influences large numbers. So it's like a guy who writes a book, 25, he influences 25,000 lives he's never met, he's never seen, he'll never have anything to do with. But his energy and his thought has influenced great numbers of people. That's the seventh dimension. The eighth dimension is God consciousness. That's when you are in communication, direct communication with your source. And then you go into the angelic realms and the galactic realms, and the experience of internal. Can't even say. You can just say it's an internal mission, which is the mission of the universe. I don't know how to explain that any better. It's just it's where the ascended masters live, and
Oh,
you are
you're operating on the perception of your soul, or
yes,
you
you
don't?
are beyond the perception of your soul. It is your soul and universal soul.
Mhm, mhm.
So
That's
there
a,
is
but that the Torah points to that as the ultimate, or one of the, maybe it's not the ultimate, but from where we're standing, a manifestation of redemption, where we are ourselves, but we are everything at the same time. It's like a holographic reality that is personal.
Schopenhauer said, and also I think Spinoza said that we recognize ourselves to the degree of we recognize everybody else as us. So
Mm,
that's pretty interesting.
yeah,
And, yeah.
very.
And Jung said, this is what I really love about Jung, and this is a lot of what I help to elicit in people, basically. Jung said, he who focuses outside dreams, he who focuses inside awakens. So
Well,
that is
that's
a
beautiful.
that is an incredibly powerful statement, and it is an incredibly powerful way to live. So, so, I
Wow.
really, yeah. And part of what I do, part of what I do basically is I take people into the mystical. I take people into that space to experience and guide them through that journey. So nobody can do that for you. The hour of enlightenment is not given to a human being, but nobody can do that for you. But I can take people into the preparation for that so that they are ready to accept. And when they are ready to accept, they surrender, and the surrender happens. It opens them up. And then from there, the next step for me, once we've opened that stuff up and we don't dive back into what is familiar, we stay in the here and now. Once we're beyond that, next thing I do is try to help them create massive wealth. That's what my current program is, which is $1 Million Coach,
Not wealthy
and
mofos.
wealthy mofos. Yes, that is wealthy mofos, and we create $1 Million Coaches, and there is a coaching business, there is a coaching content, there is a success formula. I don't even like to call it a formula. It's just common sense basically, but we don't often access it because we're too busy looking around at the wrong things. So there are factors that the negative mindset holds us back from what we can do. The positive mindset set opens up opportunities and abilities and aspirations in a way that is absolutely, it really is phenomenal. And so we learn to deal with the predictions of the future. We learn to deal with our communications with God. In the Bible, Joseph had dreams. He turned his entire experience around. He was a slave, and he then became a predictor of dreams and became the right-hand man to the Pharaoh. Uh, you know, Jacob had a dream of a ladder to heaven where the angels went up and down continuously. Daniel had a dream, that I forgot what Daniel's dream was, but Daniel had a dream that was also a communication between he and God, and
Those are
we act.
prophetic dreams. Those aren't ordinary dreams.
Right, and there, but we dream, we prophesize through dreams. So, Edgar Casey prophesied. He was called the sleeping prophet, and he prophesied through dreams. Nostradamus prophesies through dreams. These are people who have predicted in enormously accurate things for future. But there is no future. There's only now. So all we do is we turn our focus a little bit different. So we can see whatever it is that we are. So we
Wait,
really
then how can people prophesy the future if there's no future? How do you reconcile that?
they just express what they see as the now. And then everything happens simultaneously, so you can tune into whatever the simultaneity of that is.
Would you say that happens in the fourth dimension, as you describe it, that you're aware that things are happening simultaneously?
No, it happens in the fifth. But yes, the fourth dimension is the gateway to that. Yes.
Can you
Fourth
describe
dimension-
a little more sorry, what?
In the fourth dimension, you get glimpses of that situation. In the fifth dimension, you are in it. Yes.
So is this, if you're running a program, you say you take people through a mystical process, and then make them very wealthy, but how do you, if you can share in some kind of reasonably timed way, how do you take people from the 3D to the portal into where everything is happening simultaneously as an actual tangible reality?
The first step is clarity. We have to come into clarity. So when we understand clarity, then we can, who we want to be, what we want to have, what we want to do. First part of that is all clarity. Second step of that is to have a vision that serves vast numbers of people. When you have a vision that serves vast numbers of people, you create the future for yourself, or what we consider the future for ourselves, basically. And that actually that vision is a dream. It's a big dream, but it's a dream. We then become competent at what we do. We start to come through the competency process. We decide to be excellent at who we are. We decide excellence is, what we make a commitment to. A 1% commitment to anything becomes excellence. A 1% improvement to anything every day becomes excellence in the long run. And in that process, we open ourselves up. We then learn to concentrate. So the big portion that has to do with becoming into the here and now is our ability to concentrate and focus. And concentration for most people is a very different understanding than high level concentration. For most people, concentration is focusing down and grinding onto something, grabbing onto it. But
Yeah, that's left brain concentration.
Yes, it's left brain concentration. And the concentration that's in reality at the higher levels and the higher experiences is relaxed concentration, where you are able to absorb what is around you 360. So you are in the process of just experiencing. So that is the here and now. You're just experiencing, and you and it are present. So it's the one. You are it are the same thing. So there's no separation between you and it.
I call that listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Please keep going. Sorry. Yeah, no, I do.
Okay, so the next step, basically, once we start to do that, is we have to have common sense. We have to develop general principles by which we live. We have to develop general principles, and general principles are, what is important to us? What is the hierarchy of our values? So we develop general principles. This is how I take people into their mystical experiences.
I mean, I think it's one of the many super cool things about this is that I'm taking notes actually. As we keep looking away.
You're already there, sweetie.
I
Okay.
don't know if I experience, I don't think I can see how I can feel how things are simultaneous, but it's not like I have, okay, I have to shed a few things still. I have to, but I love the way that you're saying, I'm just looking here, you're going in and out, up and down, which is, seems to be a theme here that when we are living a miraculous life, when we're becoming who we are, it's not just going up into the mystical, but then it's bringing it down. Like you said, you had that in one moment, that experience, but then you spent 2 years figuring out, orienting yourself in it and figuring it out. And it's obvious that, when I first met you, you were doing I am work. You're evolving and you're getting deeper insights, and then you're bringing them out. And obviously it's not just sharing with people. You have to find language, you have to find ways of, getting people to listen to you. It's called marketing or promotion, whatever. You have to find application. So here you're saying that after you go through all of this mystical stuff, now you're teaching people common sense. So I guess they get to re-choose their values from a place of much more illuminated understanding.
Well, what happens is when we are focused inside so that we understand what we're experiencing in any given moment, we understand our relationship to all things. And that is what makes all the difference. And until we understand our relationship to everything, that is, how do we feel about this computer in front of us? How do we feel about the people who we're talking to? How do we feel about the experience of walking down the street? How do we feel at any given moment? The two questions are the two greatest questions are who am I, and then what am I feeling right now? And when you come into that space, basically, that is the place in which your common sense gets ordered. So you order your mind. The greatest part of enlightenment is that you become much more orderly each time as you go through the process. So every time, yeah,
Because more of reality becomes accessible to you.
that's right.
The picture gets bigger. Yeah, I think about that a lot, that every time you get a new insight, a new something actually that you weren't aware of, and now you see it and it's obviously real, the the order of things flips. That's how I experience it anyway. It's like what seemed off is now on, what seemed on is now off. Things just reorganize with new information.
That's right. And the things that once were difficult for you become easy. The things that once were painful for you become wisdom. The things that once, you had irritation about become humorous, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's what
Sometimes.
I, that's what I love.
No, I think it's true, but I think it's true, but yeah, I'm not as sanguine as you as of yet, although I definitely have my moments, and they're getting, I have my moments in a lot of different ways. Wow. So what about wealth? Why? Okay. Is there more? I mean, we came to common sense. Is this okay with you? I'm trying, I don't know if it's obvious or not, but I'm trying to do my best to plumb the depths of what you have here and bring it out and within this period of an hour, as much as I can. I know I can't do that much.
Well, I'm having fun. So, the thing after we come through the common sense portion of this is that we become really competent at what we are and what we do. And when we become really competent, we are in a place of completeness. We are achievement becomes easy. So it's the result of enthusiasm, really. Achievement is the result of enthusiasm. At least big achievement is. So, and then from there, we have to face our fears. So, in the process, we face our fears, and then what do we get? Courage. We become courage, and then and courage is just the accumulation of evidence that you can. So, and then the bottom part of that is that you feel unstoppable.
I'm sorry, I missed that last piece. The
And the
bottom.
bottom part of that is that you feel unstoppable, invincible. You may not be physically invincible, but you certainly feel mentally invincible, you know. So it's an incredible opportunity.
So fun.
Yeah.
How long have you been thinking about this? Is this like a new iteration for you, or like what has changed for you over the last, since this is my framework, what has changed for you from 2010 to 2023, both in your internal experience and in your work, at
I've,
least in
I've,
the macro?
I've accumulated a lot more experience. And every part of that changes me just a little. So,
Yeah.
everything is a little shift. And the beautiful thing is that the shift is the experience of feeling and relationship. So every time you make your shift, you understand your relationships a little bit better. So
Wow.
in the beginning, it was intellectual. Now it is completely heartfelt. So, that's
Even when
all.
you first had that experience, it was intellectual. It was just different perception.
No, it wasn't. It was way more than intellectual, but I came through trying to, I came through trying to be intellect. And so I still had all that intellectual information.
Right.
So it took a while for me to process that into full heart. So, that's all. It isn't that it was intellectual. It was just that's what I was carrying.
Yeah.
That's what I was carrying, and that's what was deep inside of me. So I didn't know any different. So I had to learn again. So the being in the now is a whole new state of learning. So, that's not the same as remembering.
Right.
It's yeah, it's a little different.
Right. Right. It's seeing rather than hearing.
Yes.
Wow. And when did that shift happen for you?
Not every moment.
But when did it first happen for you? Like when I first met you, I don't think you were seeing rather than hearing. I mean, I'm sure you were seeing some things, but you had principles that worked, but you didn't have this, for lack of a better word, vibration. Not from where I was sitting anyway.
Okay. So
Do you
so
disagree? Maybe I just didn't see you.
I don't know. I mean, I don't remember that clearly enough to say that I just had principles, but um,
I don't mean just had principles, but you're talking now about living with the full-on mystical awareness every moment.
yes.
And the proof of that, the expression of that is that you said what I'm doing now with people. I know that what you do in the now, whatever, whenever that is with people, is where you feel is your deepest, most central cutting edge of your, joy, expansion, and service. So that shows that there is a progression
Yeah,
of
sure.
deepening and so forth.
Yeah. So articulate your question a little bit for me.
Oh, I was just asking, I really do want to know about the wealthy mofos also in dreams versus rather than fears, but what I'm asking is and maybe this question won't resonate with you, but I'm asking if you've seen a shift in what's possible in reality, what's possible for your clients, because you're talking about expansion. So expansion is not just an individual thing, right? There's an expansion of the entire universe and what's possible for us as humans. So what
Okay.
have you seen in the timeline? It doesn't have to be the exact timeline since we met, but what are you seeing shifting in what's possible for humans and what's
Yeah.
actually expressing from humans?
Well, I think that, what's happening is that the energy is increasing, number one. And so because it's increasing, it's also faster. So there's bigger and there's faster. So that's part of the change or the direction that I've seen over the years. I've seen the intensification of the energy. So not only for me, but for everyone around me. So,
Right.
and that is a major light switch. So sometimes when we walk into a room, we turn on the light, it diffuses, the light goes everywhere and you can see comes from darkness to light when it diffuses. But what happens is when the energy increases, it becomes laser. It moves more compressed and more compressed into a straight line, and that straight line then becomes much more powerful. So
Wow.
so the light has become much more powerful for me and for the situation. So we're compressing the energy into deeper and stronger light waves, and those stronger light waves are shorter, so things are happening faster. Those stronger light waves are more intense, so that you can see more. Everything becomes much brighter, much more vivid, much more. Food tastes better, life tastes better. You know,
Wow.
people experiences more complete and fulfilling in every single way. So those are the kinds of shifts that have taken place. Other than that, it's just it's really the creation portion of how things unfold. So we're creating better, we're creating more significantly, we're creating more deliberately, and we're creating more. um, understanding in the process as well. So those are the shifts that have taken place over the years, I think.
It's really interesting because you talked in the beginning about our consciousness focusing into a much more compressed experience when we become alive, when we go through the birth canal, as you said, and now you're describing this phenomenon in consciousness in the light. It also it's a more focused, compressed light, although more powerful. It seems like the same pattern.
So what it is it's a paradox, and all of the universe is a paradox. You know, you have the widening and you have the narrowing simultaneously. So the paradox is really a very
Wow.
interesting portion. So, you know, you can't experience one without the other, but you know, it's a matter of what you focus your perception into and onto. So, but
It's
for
so that's like it's like that's like the video that goes around where you're looking at your hand or something, and then you're rising above the house, the city, the earth, the galaxy, into infinity, and then you go back in and you go into the hand, then you go into the cell, then you go into the it's like the bigger the possibility, the more expansive, the more it expresses itself in the tiniest detail.
that's right. So it's what we call infinity, and
Yeah,
infinity.
infinity.
Most people say, "Do you believe in karma? Do you believe in the simplicity of karma?" And I say, "No, I believe in infinite complexity." so, so, and infinite complexity is infinite intimacy simultaneously. So,
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
are we talking? Are we speaking as good, a good language here for us?
Yeah, no, this is amazing. This is amazing.
I
Hmm.
asked my husband if he what if he noticed this. I didn't get all that. What?
Oh no, because she was saying, she was echoing that, yeah, there's a lively conversation on what you're saying. People are saying food tastes better. You said food tastes better, and they're like, oh yeah, food does taste better. Infinite complexity and infinite intimacy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a mind stretcher, but it's really visceral. Like, yeah, I haven't looked at it in the complexity intimacy pattern yet, but it's the same. It's obviously the same pattern. Think about what that. Wow, it's just the infinite. It's just the world turning inside out and outside in, like those
Mobius. Yes,
what?
the Mobius strip.
Mobius, exactly. That's the word I was missing. The Mobius strip.
Yeah,
And then there's God and human. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. Fears and dreams.
yes.
So so actually, I really want to know about the wealthy mofos, because um you said that after you didn't say that in the list that I wrote down, but after people face their fears and then have courage, which is evidence that they can, then, and again, you went up and then you went down. Common sense is down and achievement becomes easy flow is up, and then face your fears, you're down, and then courage, you go up. So where does the wealth come in? You said that then you bring people to I forgot the word used, but a lot of wealth,
Massive wealth. Yeah,
massive wealth. That was the word.
yeah. Wealth comes in the fact that, you know, now you know how to serve large, vast numbers of people. In the Book of Wealth, you know, the major proponent for creating wealth is the ability to serve vast numbers of people. And that means you have to have a big vision. When the bigger the vision, the more support you get. It's not the smaller the vision, it's the bigger the vision.
Yeah,
And what may seem impossible, the thing is that you get all kinds of support when the vision is big. You don't get very much support when it's mediocre or average. So if you just want to be comfortable, that's all you're going to get. If you want to serve 1,000, 100 million people, you're going to get a lot of people coming out to help you. So, you
and
know,
not only people.
yeah, so if you want to put your kid through college and you say, well, I want to make this sale because it helps my kid go to college, people say, well, I got my own kids to put through college. Let me just think about it. You know, if you
Yeah,
want to, want to keep our kids from being struck by cars crossing the streets. People will dig into their wallets and give you stuff like that because we'll build a playground so that kids don't have to cross the streets, in front of traffic and stuff like that. And people will dig in and give you money and stuff. The bigger
Wow.
the vision. Marbeth has a vision right now for world peace to meditate on leaders, the world leaders. We're going to try to get 10 million people to meditate on world leaders to create peace. And
How
when
do you
she,
get 10 million people to do anything? Do you have a strategy for that?
yes, we do. But that's her. That's her. You'll have to interview her for that.
Okay,
but
fine, great. I'll reach out.
but yes, when you have a really big vision, people will help you. You'll get all kinds of volunteers from everywhere. And the process is that it makes life better for everybody. And so what you want to do is you want to give every man the ability to advance in their own way,
This
every single human being.
this is exactly the same pattern that you talked about, that paradox. When you give up, when you serve others in a huge way, then everything comes back and serves you. When the individual reaches out to the very big world instead of just being self-focused, then the big world reaches down into that. That's the intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's the complexity of coming to the intimacy, that it's the same thing. This
Yes.
is really, really fascinating. But it's more than fascinating. It's really powerful. So
Yeah.
why would you want to be massively wealthy if everything is all the same?
Well,
And
you don't need to be. It's just it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It is a not a reaction, but a residual of having big service, And I teach the service first, and then the massive wealth comes. So if you whatever you're thinking, think bigger. So that's the first thing. So and wherever you want to go, think of it in gigantic multiples. And as you think of it in gigantic multiples, you are serving more people, and obviously the return comes back. So the return, anything you put out there comes back. But here's the beauty of it: it just doesn't come back in the same way. It comes back multiplicatively.
mm,
So it's more than what you put out there. So because there is a big Mobius strip that's
yeah,
happening. It moves through the same stuff. So, and I like the idea. You don't, the higher you go in the consciousness of understanding, the less you care about wealth. But most people want wealth. So most people want some form of wealth. They want at least freedom from their ability to be obligated to earn,
right.
and so whatever that happens to be. So as you become more of a human being, the principle is really clear. You don't get in this world what you want, you get in the world what you are. So as you come into the higher consciousness of all things, the experience is that, what you are becomes more and the wealth becomes massive. Does that help?
And do you feel an obligation to use your wealth in specific ways, or it's just, I'm just
Well,
curious about
I
how
feel
that, yeah, go
I
ahead.
feel I feel an obligation to help other people gain more consciousness. To use it in specific ways, it's all up to me. I don't rescue desperation. I don't need to save anybody. I don't need to, fix the world. None of those kinds of things.
But you
Those are
also don't live big, do you? From what I know.
Oh, I don't have any need to live big. One car is enough for us. Or, we have a nice house, but we can travel at will. I don't need a great deal of wealth, though we have wealth. It just, what's the purpose of just lavishly doing things? I'm not about lavishness. I'm about being of service. So we can create generational wealth, but even that is something else. Basically what we do is we teach people the fulfillment of what they are, and as they find out what they are in the fulfillment of that, the wealth becomes just a um, byproduct of their experience of becoming. And so,
There's so much that you're saying that is really resonating with the promises, with the prophecies and promises of the Messianic era, one of which is Kol Madanim Ka'afar Tihiyu, that all delicacies will be like dust, meaning two things: that it will be like so abundant, like dust under your feet is everywhere, right? But also that who cares? Like it's there. And who
Right.
cares? That's not, there's so much better things. This is just another paradox, Harrison, to me. I mean, I'm learning a ton. I'm trying to keep it in a form in my mind so I don't, but it's like the desire for things keeps you, this is going to sound too simple. I'm not feeling it simple. I'm feeling it like infinite complexity. The desire for things keeps you stuck in a lower form of, let's say a lower dimension. And yet the desire for things propels you into an experience of greater and greater joy, expansion, and service, then you get the things in huge ways, but you don't desire them. And you don't not desire them either. It's like dust. I'm just trying to process this as an actual experience that I could relate to, because I can't, I haven't related to that experience.
There's two,
I'm asking you what it's like and if you care about it. I'm
yeah,
actually trying to, yeah.
there's two portions to that. One is that we only become wealthy by the use of things. So we do have to use our wealth in some way. So we have to, we get wealthy for the purpose of using it, right? We buy a car for the purpose of using it. We don't just buy it, for the purpose of
Right,
it
right,
buying it.
right, to have it, right.
So the second part of that is that as you come into the higher states of consciousness, the
You went
desire,
mute. I don't hear you. Did you click a button?
when we come into the higher
Okay.
states, is this any better?
Yeah,
Yeah, when we come into the higher states of consciousness, basically what happens is that money becomes like air. So, in
yeah,
other words, it circulates. You don't think about it. It's
right,
not, it's always there, and it has to move in and out. So there's a breathing
yeah.
in, breathing out. We use the money for things that matter. So whatever that comes into, whatever that means to us, whatever the matter happens to be, we use those money for things like that. We use the money. I mean, we have a charity. We use the money for all kinds of different things as well. We build houses in Haiti. We do this, we do that, we do all kinds of stuff. So, but it's not something that we go after. It's something that we are. And
Mhm.
so the wealth just comes because it's part of the
It's an organic relationship with the universe on a very big level, a cosmic level, and an
exactly.
eternal level. Yeah, wow. Okay, I really do not want to end this conversation, but I have somebody else, another speaker in 5 minutes. Can you talk about the offer that you're making? I don't know if it's a free offer course, the Wealthy Mofos, in like the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it's not even finished yet. We're still the um, the URL that I've given you guys is like a day away from being finished, probably maybe 2 days away from being finished. But we are doing a thing called the $1 Million Coach. So the $1 Million Coach is where Kamal Al Rasi and myself are training people into creating $1 million or better as a coach. So creating a coaching business that creates money. Now, if you can talk about coaching all you want, but people really relate to the idea of money, and so that's why we're using the idea of the $1 Million Coach. So it's not difficult to make $1 million. It's difficult to make the first 100,000, and then once you've made the first 100,000, the next step is 1 million.
Mm,
So. Um, and then if the next step after that is 10 million, so on and so forth. But you have to come into this understanding of the clarity and the vision and the competence and the concentration, all that stuff. But when you do those things, it becomes easy. The process is that most people teach you steps instead of beingness. So and when you try to do the steps, it either resonates with your subconscious or not. Yeah,
right.
and if your subconscious doesn't accept it, all the steps you take in the world doesn't mean shit.
Oh, no, that's good. That's perfect. That's perfect.
So the
Perfect the
million
way you
dollar,
said it.
yeah, so the Million Dollar Coach is just about that process. It's about all the things that we go through. I'm gonna do a webinar. I think we're scheduled for the third week in May. We'll do a webinar and talk about the first three secrets that make a difference and how to leverage them. So
So
how do
people
you
should sign up. If people sign up at this link, they'll get access to the webinar.
Yes, I hope this, I think there's an opt-in page with that. There's an opt-in series with that. You know, I'll give you guys, because it's you, Shifra, I'll give you guys access to my three latest books, which are about my mind, body, and spirit. So first book is called Body Wisdom. Second book is called Sustained Focus. And the third book is called Spiritual Wealth.
And where do
So
we get that? How do we get them? That's so generous. Wow.
yes, just, you know,
Will you give us the link and add that to
I don't have the link yet.
Emily?
It was supposed to be done for this, but they didn't send me the link. But go to your, whatever, go to you, whatever, Shifra's thing, and then you just send it to me, whatever, whoever signs up who wants it, just put in the subject line, want books
It
or
to your
something.
email, to your personal email?
You can do it, yeah, you can do it to yours. You can send me the list, or you can do it to
Okay,
my
okay. So
personal.
guys, if you want, I'll accumulate a list. I definitely want it. And I'll send it to Harrison.
Okay.
Harrison, this has been like really, really deeply, besides really so happy to talk to you. This has been very deeply expansive and meaningful for me personally. And
Thank you.
it's very
Uh,
special, very, very
And you're
precious.
you're a great interviewer. You're very present, and you bring things out in people, which are really cool. So awesome.
All right. So hopefully we'll talk again soon. People really are expressing their gratitude and their excitement and
You are all extremely welcome. It's good to be together with people who have a direction that makes a difference,
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My one more question I'll have to ask you offline, and then maybe I'll share it. Okay. Thanks so much. We
Did
have
you have,
1 minute to our next speaker.
did you have one more question?
I don't think we have time. It's more complicated than the 1 minute I have. I really just want to know about the service because I have a lot of, I'll just state it, and I have a lot of my students and clients are like almost averse to the idea of doing something big. They want, so I'm continuously saying to people, leadership applies to yourself. It applies to your home. It applies to your family. You don't have to do something big, but yet you're talking about this as a natural evolutionary stage in our human presence here.
That's right.
Oh, I
So
don't know how to reconcile that without with 30 seconds, but I am.
being big is who you are. Being big is not something that you try to get to. You just try to recognize it. Good enough.
So it's an inside, yeah, okay. It's an inside out evolution that
Yes.
naturally leads to the further steps. Perfect. Okay. Thanks so much. Mwah.
Well, bye guys.
Bye.
Take
Love to Marbeth.
All right, we'll do. Love to
Okay.
David.
Okay. Thank you. I'm turning off my camera, guys, for just a few 30 seconds or whatever to get